Welcome to another edition of DHN Crypto. I'm your host, as always, Wade Teamer. Pretty big day in the crypto space. Later this evening, the White House looks to meet with leaders from the crypto space in order to push forward this discussion on the Clarity Act. We're going to break down the latest details. We're also going to be talking a lot of Ripple and a lot of XRP in this episode. Ripple just dropped a new custodial staking solution. You will not believe which networks are going to be involved into that operation. We're also going to be talking a little XLM and Western Union. Exactly, ladies and gentlemen. We had a theory about this a few months ago, and it appears to be coming to fruition. We're going to break that down. And in the world of gaming, in the world of Web3, we have a pretty important NFL legend who just endorsed one of my favorite Web3 blockchains in space in the form of Dapper Labs. I can't wait to share that story with you. But before we get deep into the show, guys, I just want to share this with you. It's an X post from February 9th. I wake up in the morning, and while I'm sending the kids to school, I have thoughts on my head, and X seems to be the perfect place to just, drop them down. So I want to share this particular thought with you if you haven't seen it already. Crypto can't serve two masters. It can't be the alternative to the dollar-backed systems of the world while upgrading the pillars and components of that system. It can't target retail with technologies that retail doesn't use. Once crypto picks a side, things will change. I believe that is what we will see on the other side of this current cycle. It's long overdue. I believe, much like other things, when they get into their teenage years, they begin to learn from their lessons. In this last cycle, I noticed the things that used to trigger pumps didn't. News that the majority of us saw as good actually caused negative reactions on the price chart. So to me, that indicates that the market dynamics that brought us here are definitely changing. And I believe it's a good thing. This bear cycle has been brutal. Old trends are going to die off because of that. The next cycle will be primarily based on real world impact. Can I touch it? Simply put, can I put my hands on it? I feel like crypto up to this point has been trying to fight both sides of the same coin. Do you want to upgrade the existing system, or do you want to liberate those who are outside of it? You need to make a choice. That is the biggest discussion in relation to this Clarity Act and everything else that's going on in the White House and the current administration. And to that point, let's start there, because I believe a side is going to be chosen soon. So let's dive into a little bit of macro crypto. Again, welcome. If you're just tuning in to the show, don't forget to check out our various resources in the description under this video, as well as in the pinned comment. But Tuesday, today, the White House will hold a meeting to advance Clarity Act legislation. The biggest obstacle is yield-bearing stablecoins and their potential risk to the current banking system. So I'll just summarize this entire situation like this. Okay, this is just my personal opinion, but it's based on 6 years of constant research of the blockchain industry. The United States continues to bicker, while China, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Australia, the EU, and even the UK are picking winners. The US bickers while other countries are picking winners. This is the reality. Don't get me wrong. I love my country just as much as the next man. But this technology is global. And I believe the nationalist administration that we have isn't going to let that vision become a reality. That's the core of the drama that's taking place in the White House right now when it involves this Clarity Act. Among other things, which I have details of for you right here. On the banking side, they fear bank runs on deposits to more favorable stablecoin offerings. Again, the biggest problem here is yield bearing products. Banks don't want these stablecoin issuers, these crypto exchanges, to come in with a more attractive dollar based product, thusly causing all of their customers to rush into this new system, the Coinbases, the exchanges, and the stablecoin issuing platforms. That's probably why late last year we saw Tether create their own blockchain, Circle created their own blockchain. They were trying to position themselves to offer in-house yield-bearing services. So the stablecoin issuers had this planned out. It appears as though the banks have just caught wind of what they were doing. So on one end, you have the banks looking to not only protect their spot, but get a grip on this new technology that has the potential to steal a large amount of their customer base. Now, along with that side, you do have the political opposition, and this is something that has been bubbling up to the surface for months now. Democrats point to Trump's family and Trump's ties to entities like Binance and Abu Dhabi and World Liberty Financial, things of that nature. They believe it is the biggest loophole in the entire situation, and it allows for the president of the United States to profit off of foreign interest. That obviously jeopardizes the national security of our financial system. So, from a democratic perspective, I totally get it. I just saw a post on X last night. 87% of World Liberty Financial stablecoin runs on Binance. It's really getting harder for them to deny the connections. It really is, because now the numbers are popping up. So I'm not quite sure what else you're going to say. And I think another reason Democrats definitely are pushing back against this is the largest stablecoin issuers are not American companies. They're not. They're not American companies. Tether is not American. Okay? Circle is American. But you have to understand the gap between USDC and USDT. It is in the billions. Okay? And not a single digit number either. So, the majority of the biggest stablecoin issuers are not based in the US. How can you trust that a foreign entity is going to provide a safe system for the US dollar without appeasing to the people who put money in his pockets to begin with? Really makes you question Paulo Aldano's presence at the White House last year. Tether is a foreign company. People to this day still aren't quite sure exactly where they came from. But when you trace the origins of the blockchain space, it goes Bitcoin, Tether. Just like that. So, if you want to connect those dots, it all only points to one place, which is again the problem that the Democrats are having. This foreign entities coming in and trying to disrupt American finance. The closer we get to 2028, guys, the more I have been thinking about the political implications of this technology, because I'm trying to figure out exactly what the heck happened in the last 8 months. He came in, he told us that everything would be great again. Everything would change. Bitcoin would rally to insane new highs. The United States would lead in crypto innovation. Yet we still trying to figure out the paperwork. Hey, I'm just the observer. Now, in January, America's credit unions opposed allowing stablecoin yield for these stablecoin issuers and exchanges in the Clarity Act. Banks would have to hold crypto on hand in this particular case, and they're not exactly excited to do such a thing, which makes sense. However, pay attention to that very small detail, because in the event that the industry, the crypto space, does have its way and we get stablecoin yield through the Clarity Act, that should trigger a pretty substantial bull run, because the banks and credit unions that would be participating in stablecoin transactions would then have to hold these assets on their books, and they would have to get them from somewhere. So depending on the network that they choose to work with, that would be the particular network that would see the price rally. Simply put, 12 months ago, that list was very, very short. 2026, 2027, by the time this all gets wrapped up, that'll be a nice little frenzy. It would be a nice little frenzy, guys. Something else that stood out to me was from the American credit unions. They pointed at the fact that stablecoins, yield-bearing stablecoins, potentially threaten local lending capabilities. So, a little bit of lesson in how banks and credit unions work. When it comes to funding for local events, construction, changes, upgrades, infrastructure, things of that nature, that money typically comes from your community bank and or credit union. If the money was taken from these banks and credit unions seemingly overnight, that would also have an impact on social programs and community programs. That's crazy. That's really wild. But when you think about it, hey, it's another example of how deeply entrenched banks and credit unions are to everyday society. Social programs, I mean, things that probably keep your kid entertained after school while you're still working. Those type of programs. So, on the downside, and what the bank is trying to prevent is losing that option, because they believe if the stablecoin comes in, then it shifts the dynamic. It definitely does take the power out of their hands, but the barrier then becomes, if the people in the community don't know how to use a Coinbase or a Binance, then we're back to square one all over again. Because guess where they're going to go? To the bank and the credit union, whose job it is to manage everyone's money. So I can understand the fight, guys. Just a couple numbers here to make you think. Average stablecoin yields in the market right now, 3.5%. With a typical bank, credit union, you may see a 2% savings account. If you've been a customer for a long time, got certain credentials, maybe have a balance over a certain amount, you'll get that money. Everyone else, if you want to get rates higher than the 3.5, my personal experience, I was able to get 4% in my CDs through my credit union. Thing about that is, not everybody knows exactly what those are. I didn't figure it out until I was in my 30s. All right? So, everybody's case is different. But I can understand where the issue is. Now, in addition to that, Democrats are pointing out the fact that the Genius Act or the Clarity Act isn't so clear. It has gaping loopholes that, again, as I mentioned earlier, allow for players like the president to profit off of foreign interests. So we'll really see how that goes. Like I said, this is two sides here. This is a two-sided battle as usual. On one side, you have banks trying to give in to this new technology in a safe way. And on the other side, this is the opportunity for crypto to actually prove itself. It's been pushing and pushing and pushing to get into the traditional banking system. And now that it's at the front door, well, now we want to see what you can do. That is why I think the biggest component to the next cycle will be utility. What are you doing with it? What is it used for? Okay? I tell you this all the time, guys, till I'm blue in the face. we are dealing with software here. Okay? Software play. The online exchanges, the cryptos, this is next generation crowdfunding. Understand that before you even get involved. This is why people have such an attachment to the XRP army, being a Link Marine, being a Bitcoin maxi, an ETH maxi. This is how you get pulled in. And quite frankly, I can't get enough of it. Now let's move forward, guys. Talk a little bit of enterprise adoption and bring in Stellar to this conversation. A pretty fun story here. Stellar partner Alfred has teamed with Western Union, ladies and gentlemen. Alfred has landed a transformative new deal with Western Union. This will see its services embedded into Western Union's digital asset network platform for digital assets. Late last year, Western Union launched DAN late in 2025, with plans to include digital wallets and other public blockchain networks. I got a feeling Western Union watches a particular crypto channel and a particular brand. That DAN sounds a lot close to y'all know what it is. But let's unpack this a little bit, guys. So Alfred reminds me a lot of AirTM as well as Bridge, the Stripe company, in the sense that Alfred provides the back-end services, the software for fintechs in particular regions, in this case Latin America, to engage with blockchain-based technologies, payments, stablecoins, tokenization, things of that nature. They leverage APIs, like I mentioned, and this allows the companies to embed any of the selected networks that Alfred works with. Fortunately for us, back in, I want to say 2021, Stellar became one of those networks, along with Ethereum, Solana, Arbitrum, Base, Bitcoin, and the usual. That's important because it shows you where the adoption is going in Latin America, which networks is picking up the most adoption in Latin America. And every time I look in that direction, I see Stellar. So this relationship will center around stablecoins, digital dollars, and remittances. According to Alfred, just last year, over 10 billion in USD was transacted from the United States back to different parts of the world, particularly in Latin America. This means that migrant workers or people who are here legally, who sent money back home to their people, that's how much money is flowing. Okay? That is how much money is flowing out of the United States in remittances alone. That's deep. But they look to capture a lot of that value. They look to improve the rails that value moves on. And Stellar is definitely the perfect network to make that happen. I want to give a shout out to X Finance Bull on X, who created a pretty kick-ass visual for the stablecoin dominance that Stellar has. We touched on this a couple weeks ago, and a few days later, I found this graphic, gave him a follow. I would advise you do the same. But this pretty much sums it up here. And you can see there's Latin American stablecoins. There's also the AUDD, who just got licensed by Australia's financial authority. So that gives clearance to the AUD-backed stablecoins that will be running on Stellar. It's a different region, but they don't have to worry about that in Latin America because Latin America, South America particularly, has already pretty much established their blockchain guidelines. They've established their rules of the road when it comes to blockchain technology, especially in Brazil, ladies and gentlemen. I remember back in 2020, okay, I stumbled upon the LAC chain, courtesy of the Quant Network. That's when I first discovered just how deeply entrenched blockchain already was in Latin America. So this doesn't surprise me at all. What does surprise me though is Western Union's involvement, right? They launched the digital asset network. We know about this. And their plan with the digital asset network is not only to launch a stable coin, which we know one of them will be on Solana. Yes, I said one of them. Western Union has big plans for stable coins. They already got the patent, the trademark for WUSD. I really think y'all could do a little bit better than that. But they have other stable coins down the pipeline that they plan to launch. And when you think about that for a second here, you guys remember the mystery Western Union stablecoin we found on Stellar Expert a few months ago? Yeah, it's all coming together now. So in this particular relationship, Stellar is going to be another on and off ramp, which we know that is what XLM specializes in. This will also incorporate Stellar's wallets, Decaf, Lobster, Freighter, things of that nature, right? So in places where those wallets are used, if there's a Western Union in there, the integration is automatic, just like MoneyGram. MoneyGram, to that point, is also launching MoneyGram 3.0, which is going to be their brand new digital interface layer, and it'll also incorporate Stellar. So guys, Western Union's, I do want to touch on this, their digital asset network. My favorite part about it is its compatibility. It's natively interoperable with existing blockchain-based wallets. So this won't just involve Stellar. It could potentially involve networks like Solana, Ethereum, and other networks that have a lot of wallets. These networks, all of these networks really don't have a lot of wallets. It isn't a primary component to how they do business, but those that do are going to have an advantage in this particular situation, because you can't move a stable coin without a wallet. That's just how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. You can't do it without a wallet. So, big news for XLM, as always. I feel like it just hasn't stopped for Stellar. Yeah, the price has not been the most beautiful in the last 12 months. But if you zoom out, ladies and gentlemen, this is the best Stellar has looked since its inception. So you can't get mad at that. Time will tell. And I believe we are standing on the right side of history when the book is ultimately written. So with that, guys, we're going to take a quick break here. Run a word from one of our channel sponsors. It's going to be Uphold. Y'all already know what it is. Uphold and get your gold, your silver, your cryptos all in one place. Simple interface. They got things for more advanced traders, custodial solutions. They also have options for the rookies, the novices who just got in the game. So if you're interested, check out the link in the description, pin comment, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, I got a quick message for you. Let's say you're looking to buy some crypto, like the ones mentioned in this video. Consider using our crypto exchange partner, Uphold. With Uphold, you get access to more than 200 crypto assets through its simple-to-use trading platform. Uphold has been around more than a decade, so it is a name you can trust. With over $2 billion in reserves and $44 billion in trading volume, I've yet to lose a trade on Uphold. To the more experienced investor out there, Uphold also has a line of precious metals and national currencies for more diversification. For me, I'm having fun using Uphold's baskets tool. Uphold lets us set aside a certain amount of money to invest in different sectors of crypto. With one click, you can diversify into the big three, meme coins, or the financial assets like Hedera, Stellar, and XTC. But listen, crypto assets are very volatile, and it is always best to manage your risk and do your own research before using any platform. I recommend Uphold because before I was an affiliate, I was and still am a user. So if you use the link below, It helps support the channel. I want to thank you in advance. Now let's get back to the video. Ripple has outlined its plans for the XRP ledger, ladies and gentlemen. A big question in the space has been, is Ripple abandoning XRP? Are they stepping away? Did they finally make enough money to stand on their own too? Because it recently appeared that they were looking to broaden their horizons. In the last 6 to 8 months, we've seen ROUSD expand to Ethereum. We've seen Ripple work with other networks in the space that aren't the XRP ledger. So in the community, the question was obviously brought up, does Ripple still have XRP's best interest in mind? Well, Ripple decided to publish, as well as Ripple's development, decided to publish an entire blog post explaining their position. And some very interesting details came up out of that blog post, guys. So let's dive into this here. XRP at center as Ripple lays out institutional DeFi blueprint for the XRP ledger. Ripple has outlined plans for the XRP ledger in 2026, a complete DeFi overhaul, including protocol level upgrades aimed at regulated financial activities. At this point, Ripple should be investing back into the XRP ledger. I know y'all have made north of 50, probably $60 billion, some crazy number like that. Time to invest back into what brought you to the dance. So I'm happy to be seeing that. This also confirms Ripple's stance on the XRP ledger. When you read the blog post, you can tell they want to make the ledger the focus going forward. It also, to me, indicates that is how it's always been. All of the situations, the partnerships, and the deals that we have seen Ripple have in the past, the ledger was always at the center of it. We were right to question, because headlines can make you think one way, X and the people on there can make you think another. But this is finally beginning to come out. And even Brad acknowledged it himself. Shout out to Mr. Man XRP. You got your post reposted by the man himself. I know you celebrated that day, dude. I know you did. I would have too, but confirms Ripple's stance on the ledger, which is great. What I pulled from the blog post is Ripple now has 3 main goals for the XRP ledger: payments and foreign exchange, collateral and liquidity. We're already familiar with that part. This last one, though, is very interesting. Credit financing. Credit financing. We'll dig a little bit deeper into it in just a second. Alongside with these 3 goals, they also published a bit of a mini roadmap for the rest of the year. And there are a couple things in the pipeline that I want to share with you that I think are going to magnify the ledger. Number 1, multi-purpose token. This is their tokenization supercharger. This is how we will see more money market funds, more bonds, and other funds coming to the XRP ledger. This has been in the testing phase for the last few months, and I believe the MPTs hit mainnet in January. I need to double check that. But alongside multi-purpose tokens, we have batch transactions. This gives us atomic settlement on the XRP ledger. Prior to this, the ledger was very fast. Now, it is even faster than very fast. So imagine how fast that is. I just sent you some XRP. Did you see it? Did you see me blink? You probably didn't. That is what they're going to be getting now with the ledger. That's what atomic settlement can do for you. Another term that was wrapped up in this was delivery versus payment. Why is that massive? Well, when you take things all the way up to the top, G20 nations, Financial Stability Board, IMF, Bank for International Settlement, they're all about delivery versus payment. Delivery versus payment essentially describes the process of payments and how long it takes it to get from sender to receiver, point A to point B. Bodies like the G20, World Economic Forum, Bank for International Settlements, Financial Stability Board, they were aware years ago that this delivery versus payment problem is becoming way too expensive, primarily for countries in third world areas, for people who were sending remittances back to the crib. Remember the $10 billion just out of Latin America that Alfred discovered? Yeah, this is a global thing. So when I see delivery versus payment in relation to these blockchain networks, I know that they're aiming in the right direction. Which brings me to another point here. These three main goals for the XRP ledger that Ripple has clearly defines what the XRP network is. I have it classified in my own list as a DeFi protocol. And Ripple, it appears that they have had the ledger classified the same way for a long time. Now, those two, multi-purpose token, batch transaction, they're on the network. They're on mainnet. They're ready to start kicking. What's coming in Q3, Q4, potentially of this year is on ledger credit markets, ladies and gentlemen. Essentially, this turns XRP into a yield-bearing asset, not a staking protocol, no, yield-bearing financial instrument. They're going to turn the ledger into a yield-bearing financial instrument. Now, I am Stellar's #1 fan, but that's impressive. Okay, that's an impressive sentence. Stellar may have a stable coin for every national currency on the planet, but it isn't a yield-bearing financial instrument. I can't say nothing else about it, guys. So, falling into that, I decided to do a little bit more reading, stumbled upon this little excerpt here. This will directly embed borrowing, repayment, terms, interest, and authorization of the credit on the ledger. It turns XRP into a yield-bearing financial instrument. We are no longer playing the crypto game anymore. Let people know that. But let me just share a couple pieces from this excerpt here. Payment service providers, PSPs, can instantly pre-fund merchant payouts in ROUSD. They borrow ROUSD 1 to 3 days to bridge slow card network and banking settlement windows, reducing capital requirements and enabling instant payouts globally. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a direct way to unlock all of this trapped liquidity, this 27 trillion of it. This is the way to unlock that. Then we have market makers can borrow XRP or USD for inventory financing at scale. This lets firms run data-neutral strategies, arbitrage, and cross-venue liquidity provisioning without locking up their own balance sheet. Again, unlocking that 27 trillion. The pre-funding ability can all take place on the ledger. This is what we have heard was going to happen this entire time. Lastly, fintech lenders can access on-ledger working capital for SME and invoice financing. Underwritten institutional credit via select partners allows fintechs to fund short-term loans, seasonal volumes, or treasury gaps with transparent automated payment rails. So now I have to find me a book on institutional lending, credit, private credit, financing, all of that stuff. I probably might find a way to hit a lick. I'm not even going to lie to you. That's another reason I love the crypto space, because there are still things in my 30-something years on this planet no clue existed. But I learned it every day when I get into crypto. So listen, the XRP ledger, guys, is going to be a DeFi juggernaut going forward. That's exactly what Ripple has planned. So now we know what the XRP ledger is going to be intended for. And it also makes sense, especially when you take a look at the wave, how things had gone months leading into 2025 and leading up to this particular upgrade or revelation for Ripple, we had independent builders on the ledger creating yield opportunities. They either motivated Ripple to accelerate this, gave them the idea, or they knew what Ripple had planned behind the scenes and they were just trying to help. They were just trying to help. At that same token, what does this do for the independent builders who may not have had the resources that Ripple does to implement these improvements directly on the ledger? Will there be a scenario where, for example, someone from Ripple goes to Flare and teaches them how to upgrade their FXRP? Or Doppler Finance, for that matter, SparkDex. There's another one, MXRP. Can't remember the name of that company, but there was a number of yield generating protocols that came to the ledger in 24 and 25 that I now wonder, will they benefit from this or will they be pushed out because now Big Daddy is here and he gonna take care of it? I don't know. Only time will tell, guys. But before we get out of here, we got one more story from Ripple and XRP, which I believe is directly connected to this. But Ripple is expanding its institutional playbook. Figment and Ripple Custody, their clients can now stake proof of stake networks such as Ethereum, Solana, and XDC. Now, what's the reason for the pause? I knew this day would come. I knew this day would come. Ripple, yes, as much as they do for the XRP ledger and what they will do for the ledger, Ripple is about their bread. And they know they can make more bread on other networks. So I don't fault them for that, guys. Just a few details from here, from this story before we get out of here. Figment will provide the front end for this new software, this new protocol. Ripple will provide the back end. And no, the XRP ledger was not left out. Essentially, what it appears to be is alongside another upgrade, XLS 66, there will be cloud-based solutions. Cloud-based solutions running on the XRP ledger that allows companies to connect to proof of stake networks like Ethereum, Solana, and XDC. That makes a lot of sense because that XLS 66 is leveraging the EVM sidechain integration from last year. Remember when I told you about that? Now that the ledger has EVM compatibility, all of these things are possible. The staking is just the first step. I can imagine down the line as the ledger is validating blocks on proof of stake networks or validating transactions. Well, what that would essentially make the ledger a backstop for staking platforms. And if that's the case, then be very aware of what Flare, Uphold, and XRP are getting ready to do. Uphold and Ripple, there's absolutely no doubt they have a working relationship. Okay, it's probably been in place for years. But this particular piece, thanks to Ripple Custody, which has been magnified recently with the G Treasury acquisition, what I'm getting at is Uphold now can go to Ripple Custody and potentially open up staking offerings for the ledger on the exchange. It looks to me Ripple has found a way to turn XRP, a non-proof of stake network, into a yield generating financial instrumentation, ladies and gentlemen. This is downright amazing, in my humble opinion. And Now that these prices have come back down, I believe they're actually going to drop a lot further. The bottom, in my opinion, based on the information I'm looking at, is 55K. 50K. I'm not getting back into the market until there are 2 5s in front of the zeros of Bitcoin, or at least one. I need, and it's got to be in the first and not the second place, right? Y'all know what that's called. Anyway, but this is big news for the ledger primarily, and y'all know I am a big fan of the ledger. So with that, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments, guys. We're going to take one more break before we end the show here. When we come back, we're going to dive into the world of blockchain gaming. Listen, football fans, sports fans, stick around because Jerry Rice just endorsed a blockchain network. So we have NFL legend Jerry Rice has partnered with NFL All Day to commemorate his Super Bowl 23 performance. In that game, Rice caught 11 passes for 215 yards. And now this moment will forever be immortalized on the blockchain. Which blockchain? You're probably wondering. That would be Flow. Flow, created by Dapper Labs. They are known for their NBA Top Shot and now NFL All Day NFT protocols. So what this is essentially digital memories stored on blockchain. These can be tradable moments from the past that Flow has created a marketplace for, and now Jerry Rice has decided to partner with. Just reading from his post here, he says, one of my proudest moments as a 49er came in Super Bowl 23, 11 catches, 215 yards, a record-setting performance. Proud to partner with NFL All Day to preserve it as one of 10 collectible in packs. And it launched today. Ladies and gentlemen, now, let me see if I can mute this here, but I do want to run these highlights. Collection, which as of last month has been selling tremendously well, does particularly well during the playoffs of the NFL and the playoffs for the NBA, is when these digital moments, these tradable moments, become the most popular. So, as a matter of fact, when I was looking into the story, I noticed Flow was up again another 20%. So, that not only shows you that there are networks in crypto that respond positively to adoption. That is what we have always seen when we're talking Web3, gaming, and things of that nature. These are the networks where utility matters the most. On the blockchain, you can't trade without Flow. You want to receive an NFT, you got to have some Flow in your wallet. You want to mint one, you got to have some Flow in your wallet. So that is the mechanism you should be watching for in all of the networks, no matter what the use case is. Flow has cornered the market on digital collectibles 10 years. If they haven't bought it, they will. Okay? They will. They will. That mouse will be all over the field very soon. But when I think of these things, have not opened them. Kids can't even touch them. For whatever crazy reason, when they do a celebration for Fast and Furious in the future, and they go to commemorate his death and, tribute him, them cars gonna be worth a lot of money. Okay? I could be wrong, but say that to The guys who used to collect baseball cards back in the day, basketball cards back in the day, NFL cards back in the day, trading cards, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Duel Masters, hey, you name it. It's the same line of thinking. It's the same line of thinking for crypto holders. Some people have been holding these assets 4, 5, 6, 7 years nonstop because they believe they are the solution to the world's biggest problems. Same concept, same plan, same motive, different medium. This particular situation isn't world saving. It isn't changing the world. Same motive. I believe this moment in time will be even more valuable at a different time in the future. That's what you get with blockchain technology, ladies and gentlemen. That's really what you get. But with that, guys, that's it for today's show. Yesterday, had a lot on the plate, couldn't get to you, so I did miss you. But let me know how your day went yesterday, how your week's going so far, what your plans are, how things are looking for you in your portfolio. We're going to do some more analysis into our indexes. Yes, I still have been tracking the Elite 8 from 2023, as well as the D20 crypto index. I'm going to dive more into those things for the spring and the summer. It is bear market time, ladies and gentlemen. This means that we got to dig even deeper than we did before. And I think y'all can handle that, especially when you got your boy Wade Teamer here in your corner. So with that, guys, don't forget to pick up the Hustler's Guide to Blockchain Technology, 90-plus page guide that will guide you through the fantastical world of blockchain technology. In addition to that, guys, links to various tools and resources to help you navigate the crypto space will be in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Links to Uphold, Coinbase, Rider One, SafePal, literally anything you need to get started in the crypto space, it is under one of my videos. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, y'all know what time it is. If that money is digital, so is the hustle.